Wine cried, tears rolling down her cheeks as she sped up her car. She saw through the rearview mirror of her car, the mansion turning smaller and smaller every passing second till it disappeared. All the precious moments she spent with her husband there, clenching onto her heart till it wouldn't beat anymore. They have been married for 7 months now. They got in an arranged marriage. All Wine knew was her husband was a mafia. He dealt in drugs and weapons. He played dirty to keep his position and power in the underground world. There was nothing she could do about it. She accepted how he was, the way he loved her and treated her as a queen. No work related talk was ever done in front of her. He would go to work in morning and return home at night like an ordinary man. Sometimes she even forgot who his real identity was. Till yesterday night, when she went near Jungkook's study room, where he usually did his work, and asked Ryan not to come there. They agreed to it for their own peace, but last night Ryan was in mood and couldn't wait for him to return to bedroom anymore, so she went to check up on him. She thought, what could go wrong in 5 minutes, right? She was about to knock at the door, but she heard his voice and guessed he was on a phone call. So she decided to wait till he was done, not wanting to disturb him. But what she heard was her doom. A few days ago, it was a headline of every news channel how a ton of bodies were found with their organs missing and limbs detached. The news reported how it seemed like a massacre, something a human can do. It had to be done by a monster because, with the kind of brutality it was done, it was heart sickening. Wine got paranoid by the news for a few moments as to how much just listening to it was paralyzing. It was too sick she didn't turn on the news for the next 2 weeks. And there, standing outside the study room, what she heard turned her whole life upside down. It was no monster, but her husband who was behind all of this. Not only that, she wondered how much brutal he was, and she didn't even know any of it. It didn't have to go to that extent. It was far beyond than what she had considered him to be. She couldn't stay there. It was not letting her breathe, so without thinking much, she decided to run away before it tears her apart. Somewhere far away from him, where he wouldn't be able to find her. She stopped the car after what it felt like eternity, but it had been 1 hour and 30 minutes on clock. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know where she drove, but when she stepped out of the car, it was an empty place, a peaceful greenery and a lake flowing by a distance. It was so beautiful, it felt like a dream. Like her personality, all sunshine and warm hugs, peaceful yet a cheerful ball of happiness. That's what Jungkook calls her. A sob escaped her lips at the thought of her husband. Flashback. She stood in front of mirror preparing her anger speech with her arms crossed and face flushed red. That was it. He was sleeping on couch tonight for all she cared. So what if he was a mafia boss? Once Jungkook reached the room, she instantly turned towards him and held a hand out. Wine, don't you dare enter my room. Jungkook frowned but joined his hands behind his back and stopped at the doorstep. It's our room, princess. Are you okay? Wine, I thought you got late because of work, and here you don't even remember. It's 19th today. Jungkook cursed under his breath quietly. It was the most precious day of the month. They got married that day, and Wine was usually a very calm and understanding personality, but the 19th of every month had to be an exception. She could get extremely grumpy and stubborn and act real childish if her husband didn't provide her with enough affection on that one day. Jungkook, hey, of course, I didn't forget it. He lied. That was the first time he did. It was just late. I was going to take you out for dinner. Wine. Lie. Jungkook, love. Trust me, I'm going to take you out for dinner. He stepped in even though wine started to warn him not to. Wine, I swear, Jungkook, don't come in. I'm warning you. He only smiled in return. If there were days she could be childish, then he could be the one to act mature. He knew she would melt at his simple hug. She was a sweetheart. He stepped towards her daringly and held her hand when she tried to hit his chest. He held both of her hands and joined them behind her back and trapped her against his huge body and the dressing. Jungkook, my love, you look like an angry bird, except that you are much cuter. I might eat you. Wine, it won't work. I'm angry. She flared her nose, and if it was an animated movie, smoke would come out of her ears. Jungkook chuckled and kissed her forehead. He then kissed her temples and cheeks. Jungkook, after a whole day of work, you are my favorite part. So if I have to take your anger, I will gladly take that. Wine, you are enjoying it. She went, and he picked her up. He knew she was already melting when her resistance got low, but it was still there. Jungkook, I told you, you're cute. But love, I don't want to see you in a bad mood. I'm sorry. Jungkook, I will make you food. Stay awake whole night. Night drive, helicopter ride, amusement park. He started listing everything she loved, and how could she not love this man when she received this much affection? Wine, everything. She kept her grumpy expressions even though she joked. She was not serious, but when he shrugged and said yes so easily, she parted her lips. Wine, you serious? Jungkook, of course Princess get what she wants. Jungkook, you don't even know what it's like to be spoiled by me yet, darling. He chuckled at her sparkling eyes and kissed her lips before putting her down on bed and started tickling her. She laughed and rolled around trying to escape him, and their laughter filled the whole room. That man, who was one sweet husband to ever exist, was also such a brutal person. She stayed beside the lake and cried her eyes out until she heard the footsteps, to which she turned around out of curiosity to see who was there. But what she didn't expect was it to be her husband. Jungkook stood there, still in work outfit, coat off and a few buttons of shirt undone. He going in different directions, probably frustrated looking for her, but he stood there, still looking as calm as ever. Vine gulped and stood up instantly, taking a step back. The sight she loved the most was scaring her. Vine, how did you find me? Jungkook, the car is mine, Peaches. You thought I would find it? Vine, I want to be alone. Jungkook, it's dangerous. Jungkook shook his head as he came forward, but Vine instantly screamed, stopping him in his tracks. Vine, don't come near me. You're not my Jungkook. Jungkook, don't be ridiculous, Vine. If there was one thing he couldn't take, it was staying away from his wife. She started crying as she shook her head furiously and hugged her arms. Jungkook, darling, please, We will talk. I can see you in pain, and you are well aware of that. Why? How could you? How could you kill people so mercilessly? And you do a lot of things I should not know. But this is too much. She said in between her sobs and disbelief. Jungkook, I told you to stay out of it. This is my work and mine to handle. Why? No, not anymore. First you tell me what kind of work you do. It was a lie. It was all a lie, a part of your deception to keep me in dark. Everything I knew. You do so much worse, or go back. Leave me alone. He closed his eyes. As much as hurt he was seeing her in pain, it made him mad every time she talked about leaving her alone. Because for God's sake, he was never going to do that. Jungkook, if that's what makes you happy, he said as he stepped towards her, ignoring her pleas to stay away. He put a hand on her cheek as he stepped in front of her. Jungkook, I am Jungkook, son of John Jihan. Korea belongs to me more than the government, and I am the leader of most deadly mafia. Jungkook, I deal in weapons that can cause much damage than you think. I kill when they try to piss me off. My hobby is torture. My authority is unlimited, unlike my patience. Jungkook, what else do you want to know? There was a crazy gleam behind his eyes, something Ryan hadn't known in their 7 months of relationship. The man she loved had the softest eyes and loveliest soul, who showered her with love. At least with her he was like that, but the one who stood in front of her reflected monster, and she only wanted to run away as her whole body shivered in fear. But he was not going to let go of her. If not by love, he knew how to get his ways by hook or by crook. To be continued.